G'day punters. Been out harvesting some more coconuts. Got 7 this morning. I'll do a cut in very shortly of where I've been harvesting them from. Basically from the local golf course at Bargara, just on the side of the road. But I'll do that cut in here. Just out for a essential exercise thing. This is where I pick up the coconuts. You can see a couple that way. So we're just driving along Bargara Scenic Drive, and off to my left is the Bargara golf course, to the right is the beachfront. And there's a line of coconut palms along here. There's actually quite a few coconuts out this afternoon. See some out there in the grass. See the golf course off to my right. Boss is out front. And you'll see a couple of coconuts. There's a couple just in there. It's a rock. You'll see the coconut palms. So what am I going to do with these coconuts? I've got 7 here and I've got 9 already husked inside. I finished husking these coconuts. Then I'm going to crack them all. Then I'm going to grate them. The end product's going to be, I hope, coconut oil. As I understand it, the process would usually take about 3 days, but it's probably going to take me, I reckon, 4 or 5 days to do this, only because I'm probably not going to finish husking and shredding all the coconuts today. It's a cold pressed, if you can say, fermentation process, and I'll explain that as I go through this each step. Okay, those who haven't watched my green coconut curry part 1 video, I showed sharpening up my machete. I'm going to use a machete to husk the coconuts, only because that's the only tool that I've got to use them. Since I've last video of the sharpening, I've probably chopped open about 14 coconuts, and I'm a bit rough with the machete, and you'll see that shortly. I've just used a file, very fine metal file, and some carborundum sandpaper, which is good sandpaper, just believe me, it is. And you'll see I've put an edge on it all the way around both sides. Just use the file to make the edge, and I use the carborundum paper just to take off the burrs and just polish it up a bit. And it's ready to husk the coconuts, and you'll see that I've got a chair ready to go. I've got a glove that I use on my left hand because I don't want to chop my hand off. Doesn't mean I won't hit my hand. A couple of coconuts lying around that I'll husk, and I've got a bin just to put some of the husk material in to take it down to the garbage bin. Well, that's the one coconut husked. I'll go around and scrape off the rest of that loose stuff, so when I crack it, it doesn't drop into the milk. They're very small coconuts, which is why I've got so many this occasion to try and make some coconut oil. The eyes on it look nice and white, they don't look mouldy with the eyes there. And I've mentioned previously, it was shown to me in Fiji by a Fijian, when you crack them you look at the eyes, and there's 2 eyes at the top, one at the bottom. Between the 2 eyes at the top there's a line across here, and if you get, I've got a meat cleaver, look at that line and you just crack it. Start there and work your way around. I'll eventually crack. Just thought I'd show you the difference between the ones that I've cleaned up and the one that I haven't. This one hasn't been cleaned up yet, and all these other ones have. Rightio, so I've got 15 coconuts here, all husked. And you see, from the smallest, it fits inside my palm, probably to the biggest, which is not really that much bigger. But anyhow, I'm going to crack them open, collect the juice. As I mentioned in the video, look between the 2 eyes, there's a line across the top, crack it in the centre. So we'll give it a go, eh? Meat cleaver, just the back of it. That's got a good amount of flesh in it for what I want. That's where I get all the oil from, the flesh. So I'll go ahead now and crack the rest of these coconuts. So I've cracked all the coconuts, you can see. That little tiny one, still had a decent amount of flesh in it, not completely formed. Should be enough there fleshed to do what I need to do. And that's the milk that I've pulled off it. I have to put that in the fridge because this will actually ferment if you're not careful, and I'll probably ferment in the fridge if I leave it there too long as well, so I'll probably consume it the next day or two. One of my recent videos I did a green chicken curry with the help of my boss, Prue, and that I showed this grater, so if you want to know more about this grater, have a look at that video because I go through making it. The little attachment at the end there I just bought at a local Filipino store that sells produce. So the next part is grating all these coconuts, and it's probably going to take me a couple of hours, I reckon. Well, I finished shredding those coconuts. It was 15 small coconuts all up. I've got the shredded coconut in this plastic container. I've weighed it. It's 2.933 kilograms. That's including the container weight as well. I'll measure the container later so I know what the net weight of the coconut is that's in there. I'm going to soak it now with some warm water for, that's a dishwasher in the background. Some warm water for probably about 20 minutes to just try and extract some of the oil and coconut milk from the shreddings. I'm then going to use a muslin cloth. This is a bag my wife made a while ago, and I'm going to squeeze it out into this container. I'll reserve the shreddings once I've squeezed them, and then I'll process them in a blender with some warm water and go through that process again to try and extract as much oil and coconut cream as I can. Finished expressing the coconut shredding now. As I mentioned previously, the first pressing I just soaked the shredded coconut, and in the second one I put the shredded coconut into a blender with some water and then expressed it again, and that's the product I got left there. This is the final product of squeezing the water and cream and milk out of the shredded coconut. And the prior part of this video I mentioned that I'd let you know how much coconut there was, and it was just under 2.5 kilos. That was the gross weight of the coconut shred. So I've let this sit overnight just to get the cream on top to set. I'm going to pull that cream off and put it in another bowl. You see I've got some scales here. I've already weighed that bowl. It's 906 grams, so it's going to see how much cream I've got. The cream should be reasonably set on top. I'll just have a quick look. You can see there's a bit of a curd on top. So I'm going to pull that off and put it in the other bowl. I've finished skimming off the solidified cream. I've now finished skimming off the solidified cream at the top of the coconut milk and water. It's still very cloudy. I'm going to stick that back in the fridge and see if I can get some more of the settle, but I've got as much as I want to use to make the coconut oil, and it's in this bowl here. There's obviously some water in that from the skimming process as well. Let's see how much the total weight is. Let's see how much the total weight is now. Just turn the scales on. This is what I've skimmed off the 2 bowls. There is some coconut water in there, and the processes that follow will isolate that out from the process. I've just turned the scales on. 1.902 kilograms, and I know that the bowl is 906, so I've got about a kilo of product in there. I guess it will be interesting to see how much oil I get out of that. The next process, and you'll see I've put cling wrap over the top of this, is to let it sit. Probably I'll let it sit all day. It's only 8 o'clock in the morning here, so I'll probably wait till about 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. It will ferment. It's got naturally occurring bacteria in it. It'll curdle. Not too dissimilar from leaving milk out, I suppose, though one's dairy and one's non-dairy. Anyhow, I'll take some more vid later this afternoon. I had the cream set aside in a warm area for probably about 9 hours, and you could see during the course of the day that the top of the cream was bubbling. It was fermenting. It did stop fermenting for a little while, so I pulled it out. I've put it in the fridge. It's been in the fridge now for about an hour. I'll let it sit in there for a couple more hours. It's been in the fridge now for about 3 hours, and you see it's a bit, can you hear it? Pretty solid, so I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to put it in another bowl. I've now removed all the curd and the oil that was solidified in the top of that last bowl, and I've put it into this square bowl. Need to put it in a warm place overnight again, just so that it can do a little bit more fermentation. Okay, I've probably missed showing you a step, but what I've did is strained out all the liquid from that square bowl that I had from last night into this cheesecloth, making sure not to agitate it too much. I've tied the cheesecloth up, again trying to make sure I don't squeeze the curd that's inside there too much. And I've tied it to this piece of timber, and I've hung it up over a bowl and a sieve, and I'll let that sit there for a couple of hours just to strain off the rest of the oil out of the curd. That's the finished product of the oil. The last time it was in the fridge and I just pulled it out. There wasn't too much water on the bottom, and I've pulled it out. I've weighed it. It's about 270 grams, so the conversion rate is about 1 in 9. That means if it was 90 grams of coconut shred, you get about 10 grams of coconut oil. So it's not a very high conversion rate. I've still got probably a litre of coconut milk as well, and I've got some coconut cream cheese which I'm just setting in the fridge at the moment. I'll show you that shortly. This is the cream cheese. I've just taken it out of the fridge and the cheesecloth. I've moulded it up a little bit. It has a slight tangy taste, cheesy, with a coconut hit. Probably be nice as a butter on toast, sort of a savoury sweet taste. Certainly won't be going to waste.